find out what faded blue jeans have to do with taking spiritual steps towards a new life. Please stay with us for Austin Faith Dialogue.
Austin Faith Dialogue, at the crossroads of religion and life. A series highlighting the cultural and social interactions between the worshiping and religious communities in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KXAN. Join us now in Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. My name is Shane Whistler, your host today. And with us in the studio, I'd like to welcome Jim Smith and Kathy Squires. And both have been with jail ministry, ministering to those who are serving time for various reasons for many years. And you have two different ministries that have blended uniquely into a story we'll get to in just a moment. But first, I imagine there are some skeptics that would say that, well, prison ministry, when you minister to those behind bars, they'll just say the right things to make things go easier on them. And so what would you say to skeptics to this?
Well, they're absolutely correct. There are some that do just exactly that. But there are so many of the others that are very serious. And a lot of the skeptics, as their time goes on and as they begin to get into their walk with the Lord, they become the real workers in the program too. So it works both ways.
Yeah. Kathy, what would you say to some skeptics about those folks ministering to those in jail?
Well, I would certainly support what Jim said. You never know who is going to actually benefit from it. You never know who is really going to take it into their heart and allow it to change their lives.
Well, I know we want to spend time on two things today, talking about your Faded Blue Jeans ministry that's been around for about 2.5 years in Austin. But also you two have a long time ministry experience. Kathy is a volunteer and you've been a minister yourself. Jim, could you tell us just briefly about your background?
Well, we got into the prison ministry about 20 years ago. My wife and I both belong to the Gideons. And through the Gideon organization, we became interested in the jail ministry. We started up in the old building, old Travis County building, uptown. We progressed there, went into Del Valley when they opened that facility up out there. About 2.5 years ago, we had gone through a Experiencing God class. A fellow named Bob Sawyer with the Park Hills Baptist Church was a moderator. We went through his that program, and about 2 months after that, after we completed the program, we were in a prayer meeting. And we asked God where he was working. And he told us, and he said, well, Lord, put us to work. And he did. He said, I've got enough people thumping Bibles on the street corners, but where I need people to put on their old faded blue jeans or put on their old clothes and come and work for me. And that's where we're doing.
That's great. And you're wearing your uniform today.
I'm wearing my uniform today.
Kathy, what's your background?
Well, I've just been a volunteer in county jails primarily for about 9 years now. I did, for a number of years, I worked in Harris County and now in Travis County out at Del Valley. And I've just worked directly under the chaplain in these two facilities for these years.
Good. Well, there's a merger between your special interests that came about that we'll get to in a moment. But Jim, the ministries you said you felt led to put on your work clothes and go to work. And so tell us what's going on. What is Faded Blue Jeans Ministries and what do you do?
Well, Faded Blue Jeans Ministries is really a multifaceted program. We have a Faded Blue Jeans Fellowship on Saturday night. We hold our meetings in the Maranatha Faith Center. 49.
I think we have that printed on the screen in just a moment for folks to see the time you meet on Saturday
But we meet there from 6:30 to 9. It's a fellowship. A person that's just coming out of prison, his family. We minister to people off the street. We have homeless that come down there. We have a few little entertainment. We've got groups such as the Hearts of Joy, the several other groups that come in there and just picking and grinning, gospel, you might say brush arbor gospel, contemporary music, and we have a great time. If anybody wants to bring their guitar down, come on down. One of our people will put them to work.
Good. I think we can show on the screen now the time and address
Okay.
for that fellowship. It's at 6:30 on Saturday nights.
6:30 to 9 p.m. on Saturday evening. We have an open clothes closet. Those people coming out of prison that are needing clothes, we can outfit them. We have job counseling down there. We can point them toward a job. We have other services that we utilize there. We have some support groups for husbands and wives that have a mate behind the wire. We have support groups for maybe a mother and father that have a son or a daughter that's just been incarcerated. It's a rough go for them, and they need some support at that point.
So at these fellowships, you work with everyone involved by someone who may be
Oh, yes.
in prison at the time, and also their family members, or someone who's gotten out, who's served their time and wants to find a place where they can belong.
Correct. While that person is in prison, and he wants us to work with his family, the family will come out down there on Saturday night. They bring the kids. We've got a nursery, have a tremendous children's church group down there for the little ones. We have something for everybody as far as that goes. The families probably need more help a lot of times than the inmate. He's being taken care of. He's got 3 squares a day and a place to sleep, but unfortunately the wife or the parents have spent all their money. They're broke at this point, and they need some help. We furnish everything from, on a limited basis, we'll have some household products that'll be given to us. It seems like that when a need comes in, that need is met before we ever really get it a lot of times. We'll have something donated, and we don't know what we're going to do with it. We had a bicycle donated, a girl's bicycle donated one Christmas. We didn't know what we're going to do with it. But a boy in TDC over in Huntsville wrote to us and said, I fell through the crack as far as the other program were concerned for Christmas. I got here at the wrong time. I need now somebody to help give Christmas for my family. He had a 12-year-old girl. Bicycle just fit her. She riding it back and forth to work now.
That's a good story. You have people who have finished serving their time at a correctional facility. You said there's sometimes a job counseling available at
Yes.
these Saturday night sessions?
We have people come in to Faded Blue Jeans on Saturday night that might have gotten discharged that morning or sometime within the past week. I speak over at the Parole Division 3 on Monday morning at the orientation for those people getting out of prison on parole last week, and they're looking for jobs, they're looking for some kind of help. Now they come out of there, they've got the clothes on their back. They're broke usually, so they come to us, we can point them toward a job, like I say, we have a clothes closet, we can give them some work clothes, we have bus passes available for them until they get their first paycheck. And we have job counselors, not every week, but usually we have job counselors on site to help them get orientated. Our main job is to put that person back into society. Sometimes it's kind of rough for a person coming out. He doesn't want to go into a mainline church immediately for one reason or another. And it's easier to transition through a place like Faded Blue Jeans because we all understand where he's coming from. He's among his peers in there, and he knows he's not going to be looked down upon just because he comes in and asks for help.
It was a shock to make that adjustment.
You bet it
And maybe
is.
we should clarify that the folks at the church where you're meeting, they have offered that space, but your Faded Blue Jeans Ministries is a separate organization.
Correct.
A non-profit organization, and you get to use their facilities for
Correct.
those Saturday night.
Maranatha Faith
fellowships.
Center have been very good to us. They have allowing us to use their facilities on Saturday night. We need some financial help in that respect because they're not charging us anything right now. And we're a no-profit organization. The people that come to us are after help. So we don't have any income coming in from our congregation at all.
So if those folks who, whether they are parents or other family members, or someone who's been released from an institution can be welcomed there, and you've got it all. In 2.5 hours, you've got some music, some worship, you have a clothes closet, you have sometimes job counseling.
Yes, sir.
So that's a lot that goes on in 2.5 hours.
We can offer a person an opportunity to get back into mainstream society if that's what he wants. So a lot of times they just don't want it, but most of the time they do. They're looking for something, and they really don't know what they're looking for. So they come to us, and maybe we can straighten them out and lead them in a direction where it'll help.
And every Saturday night, 6:30, you're there.
Every Saturday night, 6:30, we're there.
Okay, good.
We have a pretty good crew down there. David and JoJo Storm. We have Myron Marie Hickey. One of us is always there and taking care of things. We had some good soup there last week. Always have sandwiches and cookies and coffee and whatever.
Good.
Whatever the ladies want to bring.
Good. Well, Kathy, we're not going to leave you out of this conversation at all. I'd like, just a couple of minutes before our break, tell us about specifically what kind of program you've been facilitating at the Travis County Correctional Complex.
Well, it initially began with just individual counseling sessions with the female inmates upon request, and sort of worked into, I guess I should say, some 12-step group work. And so now I'm actually facilitating 4 different groups out there on Friday and Saturday, and all volunteer, of course, on their part, and no commitment from one week to the next even. So sometimes our group can be very varied from time to time, and we never know how many are going to come or how many new ones or whatever, and so it's makes it kind of unique in that way.
Can you give us a glimpse? Certainly want to preserve everyone's anonymity, but maybe a face that stands out in your memory, or a story of someone who's come to the program meetings that you host, and have kept in contact over the past couple of years? Well,
yes. I have one person in particular in mind that she left Del Valley, and she went to another treatment center, and I kept in contact with her there. She had been in and out of drug programs for many years, and she was well past, I should say, the age of 35 even by the time I met her. And we've stayed in constant touch, and I say constant touch, once, twice a month I talk to her or see her, and she's making it. She's doing very, very well, and her life has totally changed, and that's one success story that I always like to tell.
Yeah. So literally, had she heard of the 12-step program before she had attended your sessions?
Well, she had been in many 12-step
in and
programs. She had just been in and out of a lot of different drug programs, and so she came to this one, which is Christ-centered, and this is what she had been looking for, and for that reason, she was interested in it and came and made a total change in her life.
Okay. Well, I understand you have a workbook called 12 Steps to Freedom, and we will get to that in just a moment, and we will see how uniquely your two works in ministry have been combined and have blossomed into something completely different and perhaps you didn't expect. So we are glad that you're both with us today, because there's always a mystery to unravel, and you two have a good one. I think we'll learn about someone named Joey in just a moment. So please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us for this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. My name is Shane Whistler, your host today, and with us in the studio we have Jim Smith with Faded Blue Jeans Ministries and Kathy Squires, who has been a volunteer at the Travis County Correctional Complex in Del Valle for the last few years. And Kathy, we were talking about 12 Steps to Freedom. You've taken the 12-step programs that many people may be familiar with to help fight addictions of all kinds, not just alcoholism, but
Exactly.
many kinds of addictions in our lives. Tell us about how these 12 steps to freedom, how is that different from, or is it, from the regular 12 steps?
Well, actually, it's based on the regular AA 12 steps, and I was coming across so many inmates who were involved in 12-step programs but wanted to do a Christ-centered Christian 12-step. So I contacted the headquarters of AA and asked them for permission and to use their 12 steps, but to change the wording to meet our needs. And they very readily gave me that permission in writing, and so I started writing the 12 steps in the way that I felt the people that I was working with really wanted to study it. So it started out as just sort of one step at a time, and I was kind of bogging down really because I couldn't remember who had what step, and I was getting a little confused with all the different people, and so I decided that maybe putting it in a book form would be best, and giving them the book and letting them work at their own pace really through it, even though we'll do a specific step in each meeting, but letting them go on through at their own pace. And it's been well received. They've responded very well to it, and so we've been using that for a year, 2 years?
About a year.
Something like that, yeah.
So, and before I forget, I did want to mention, Jim, you said in the fellowship evenings you will be going over, you've just finished a month on step 1.
That's correct.
Next month you're going to step 2. So
We
you'll follow those 12 steps in those fellowship meetings, because this is where our interesting merger has happened, that you've been doing the 12-step work and moved it into 12-step ministry for those who identify themselves as Christian or are seeking a connection, a spiritual connection. And
everyone is welcome.
Yeah, we want to clarify that state and federal institutions are required to provide for all the religious needs, whether they're Muslim, Native American, all those faith groups. But yours, for those who choose to be identified, they're Christian, and they want a 12-step program geared for them specifically.
Yes, yes.
Well, I know through Faded Blue Jeans, Jim, and throughout your ministry career, you visited those folks in jail or prison, and you more recently passed out a Serenity Bible?
Yes, we began passing out a Serenity Bible about a year ago, and I was one of the fellows over at one of the assistant pastors over at Park Hills Baptist Church. Happened to have half a dozen copies and gave them to me. Some of the fellows that I was counseling with and working with at Del Valle, it seemed to fit their need, so I was passing them out. One of the fellows, by the name of Joey, was in one of Kathy's programs. He was also coming to services, Protestant services, where I was preaching there in Building 1. Well, he had a copy of the Serenity Bible and a copy of Kathy's 12 Steps, and was transferred to the Holiday Transfer Unit over to Huntsville. Well, he took that information with him, entered the AA steps over there, began to using the 12 Steps to Freedom and the Serenity Bible in his AA classes. Well, his buddies got to looking over and said, "Ooh, that looks pretty good. Where can I get one of those?" One thing led to another, and they wrote to us, and we began sending them the 12-step books and the Serenity Bible. Mushroom from there, that's a transfer facility there, so they go in there where the inmate goes into Holiday, and then he goes out from there into the different systems, different Jester or whatever jail he's going to be in. Well, they took it with them, and it's mushroomed in those places. Now the Texas Department of Corrections Drug Abuse Center in Huntsville is using this program in part of their AA work. And
so they'd already had AA programs, but this
yeah.
one is adapted to meet the spiritual, more specifically, a
And
spiritual.
those people that want to take the Christian AA step are you know, they're eligible to do it. They can take it or they can drop it, whatever they want to do. But we're now in about 18 different facilities throughout the state. The program is being accepted. We're getting the first, second, and third steps back in now. We grade it and we send it back to them with the next step.
Wanted to make what they're working with. They have folks who ask for it get a Serenity Bible, but I forgot to mention your workbook. Can you tell us specifically what that looks like and how that came about? You said you'd written to the National Office of Alcoholics Anonymous for permission to use it, but what's the scope of this workbook?
Well, it's, I think it's about around 150 pages.
Oh, that's a sizable workbook.
Yeah, and back and front, and it really does give a thorough workout for them, if I can use that word. And once they finish that, they do have enough knowledge of biblical principles, and which are adapted to the principles involved in overcoming addiction, that if they're really serious about changing their life, if they're really serious about living a new and different kind of life, they do have an awful lot of information at this point, and they can go on and pursue it further. And it's just, as you asked earlier, it's just up to them as to what they do with it. And of course, being a county jail facility, they always go somewhere from there, either to another facility or they're out. So I don't have a lot of follow-up on them. I'm not able to give you that information. I don't know. But they are provided with the information that they need to go on if they choose to do it.
So this young man named Joey had a workbook that you'd given him from attending your meetings, had the Serenity Bible, and it had been transferred to Huntsville, and had those together, and someone saw what he had and asked, well, how do I get one of those? And so you've got your first letter in the mail. And tell us about what you just started to describe, the steps. Literally, there are 12 steps in the program, but what do the folks do?
We get say the first step, we get it back in, and we comment on it, grade it. If that person has gotten off on some tangent that he shouldn't be on, well, scripturally, we can lead them back into the proper way. It's a learning experience with them and with us. We're grading the papers and sending them back, and like Kathy used to be a school teacher, she's pretty good at the grading business. And it's something that's working. It's something that people can hang on to, and then when they get out, if they live in this greater Travis County area, they come out in faded blue jeans, just pick up right where they left off in prison, and continue right on with the program there.
So, and you mean by turning the steps in, the first step in the program is admitting you're powerless over your addiction, and that your life had become unmanageable, which certainly seems to be the case for some folks.
Right. Kathy has incorporated a group of questions in her program. They answer the questions and read the scriptures and study the scriptures that pertain to that particular question. And every question has a biblical background to it. It's taken strictly from the scriptures, so that nothing in the program is off the wall. It's all right straight out of the Bible. The Serenity Bible is nothing but the New Testament, but the different steps are highlighted. The references to the different steps are highlighted throughout the Bible, and it makes it very easy for a person to study.
Okay. So the folks that choose to follow your version of the program, which is still part of the larger program of the 12 steps, they fill out the worksheet, because you just now decided to give it to them one step at a time. Originally, that was a different story.
Well, we are doing that some. It really depends. A lot of times, if they're scheduled to go to TDC fairly soon, I usually prefer that they take just the individual steps, because they can't take the book in with them. And then, though, I can send them the book once they get into TDC.
Okay.
So it just depends on the individual situation, really. And each step is about, I would say, about 6 to 10 pages long, depending. So it's not something that they can do, or should not do, I should say, that quickly. We don't want them to rush through it. We'd like to take some but we would like for them to take quite a lot of time, or as much time as they need to do it
So
thoroughly.
literally one step at a time, they mail in worksheets, and you and a couple of other people may look at those and make comments and send it back to them, and keep them on track.
Right.
Yes.
As you see places to make helpful suggestions and at their request.
Right, exactly.
And the 12 steps itself gets revised on occasion. I think Kathy's revising some of it now. We find things that work better than other things, so that's incorporated.
Specifically, and we want to clarify for people watching the program that we're talking about the 12 Steps to Freedom, which is the workbook that
Yes.
you've authored, or
Yes.
and with AA's permission.
Yes.
And that the AA program in general makes no specific claim to any
Correct.
particular belief or
No.
organized religion. It's
Right.
very general, not in a negative way, but a generic sense,
Yes.
that it's open to all people of all persuasions, agnostic to Christian to Muslim to
Exactly.
Buddhist.
Exactly.
So, well, I think, Jim, you told me that this has crossed state lines now, this program.
It looks like it has. I think we'll be getting information now, or request now from up Leavenworth, Kansas, in the federal penitentiary up there.
Okay.
We have some people that have gone from here up to Leavenworth that are working the steps, so they're going to be, I don't know what's going to happen when
Yeah.
it gets up there.
So this has grown by word of mouth as people move around, and the larger umbrella, we have the 12 Steps to Freedom that goes with the Serenity Bible, but the larger umbrella is your Faded Blue Jeans
Right.
ministry. And so when folks, as they're able, can come to meet in those Saturday night fellowships, and people who might want to support, we can show an address for your
Yes, sir.
ministry, and I believe a pager number if they would like to know more
If
information.
they want more information, leave word on that pager number. It's an answering machine, or it's voicemail. I will get back with you. If you care to drop a line, just that address 3376 Austin, Texas will get me, and we'll answer all correspondence. Don't expect to call that answering machine and have me call you right back. I might be in the middle of Mopac,
That's right.
but I will get back with you.
Okay. We see your office space is very limited. I want to share that your office space is a very small bedroom right now, and if possible,
It's
if
getting
anyone had
smaller
the
all the time.
facilities, you would be willing to expand
you
it.
bet. We
to
need
place
an
a
office.
full-size desk, and
Right. We need an office. We need some place to hang our hat, and we need to expand a little bit in that area.
well, we're really glad you shared your diverse ministries that are blossoming and growing. Thank you. This is all for this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. I'm Shane Whistler. Peace be with you.